morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the World Tech Report here on Single TV channels 249. For this show is also being broadcast across the Hair Network. And I just want to remind you to please go to the applications of iOS and Android to download a single application. It's totally free. Remember that you can see all our programming and all our shows on there. Remember as well that Single TV can be acquired through Amazon Fire, Amazon Fire TV Sticks, Roku and Roku Sticks, and on Google Chromecast, as well as in all smart TVs 2016 and forward. Today, as you have been seeing all week long, we are doing a series of interviews with the innovators and accelerators that are going to be presenting before a mass audience at the Collision Conference, which gathers more than 35,000 individuals from all areas of the IT world. This coming June 20th through the 23rd in Toronto, Canada at the NCare Center. With us, we have today an esteemed group of innovators that are moving forward in what is called a social media platform that looks at democratizing the way we look at the stories that appear in the media. With us, we have Nicole, Ogloza, Aastik, Saini, Dimitry, Kushelevsky, and Matheo, Vasquez, part of ETA. And it's a esteemed pleasure to have you here. Thank you for appearing on our show and coming to give us a little bit of what it is that you guys do to help the world as we live in. Nicole,
Definitely.
please, if you can give you a little bit of an introduction as to who you are and where you come from, and then we'll proceed with the rest of the group.
Sure thing. I'm Nicole Ogloza. I'm the CEO of ETA. And basically what Eduardo mentioned is that we are creating a social news media that will be using AI to help mitigate political polarization and then misinformation in the future. I am from New York City currently today. I've traveled, quite extensively across the world, and I've also participated in the World Championships as an artistic roller dance skater.
Let's go with Dimitry Kushelevsky.
Hi, a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having us. I am a seasoned entrepreneur, corporate executive. I had a long career that spanned a bunch of really great, innovative startups, many of which have benefited millions of people in the process. Also a veteran of some big corporations like Cisco and IBM, and just was very fortunate to amass a great deal of experience along the way that now I can channel into this great venture with our team. So thanks again for having us here.
Terrific. And then we have, if I'm correct, the CTO, Aastik Saini.
Yes. Hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here, Eduardo. I'm Aastik. I take care of the technical things, make sure that the servers are running, the apps are updated, and you get all the beautiful things that we are doing in your phones as we make and develop them. Prior to this, I've been a part of multiple startups as an initial hire or a core team, and I've I've been coding since a young age of 14, and actually tinkering with computers from even before, like when I was about 6 or 7 years of age. And yeah, that I started off with web development, mobile development, and grew into AI, ML, AR, VR, and I've touched almost in every field. And I bring that expertise to the team and guide the team to deliver the products in the most fail-safe and beautiful way possible.
And then we have the last but not least is the financial wizard behind this. And his name is Matheo Vasquez. Matheo, can you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Muchas gracias, Eduardo. Hey, everyone. My name is Matheo Vasquez, as you mentioned. I was born in Colombia and raised in South Florida. Studied engineering at the University of Florida. And after graduating, decided to get into finance and business development. For the previous 10 years, I've been doing sales consulting and business development. And aside from that, a huge passion of mine is growing ice hockey in Latin America. So I'm also part of the Colombian national team, which I've been since inception and one of the co-captains. We recently participated and won our first International Ice Hockey Federation tournament. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm based out of Miami, and I focus a lot on connecting our team with future investors and making sure that our partners are aligned with our mission and vision.
Perfect. So, Nicole, I've been looking over your background, and you have a very, very vast background in the marketing field. Uh, I mean, great organizations throughout. But one of the things that surprised me, you worked for 4 months in South Africa. Uh, actually an entrepreneurship empowerment organization. Uh, how did did that relate to what you are doing now? Because I imagine since you were trying to empower entrepreneurship, being an entrepreneur now, you can relate back to what you were teaching or helping.
Yeah, definitely. I could speak to that. I was in South Africa for a 6-week trip through our school, University of Florida, and basically what we were doing there is helping two companies that were from disadvantaged areas in South Africa and in townships, and help them scale their business. What I learned there is basically how to conduct business without any money. And obviously being there, and it changed a lot of my perspectives in life, the way that I see third world countries, and things that how creative a very diverse team can be. They basically lead off of they don't have food, shelter, or water or anything like that, so they also have to focus on running a business at the same time. And that really showcases, like, if you could make it in South Africa, you could probably make it out alive anywhere else. And I try to transfer that knowledge to the rest of my team as well, and take a diversity first approach to our team, especially in the way of AI and machine learning. You have to have a very neurodiverse team in order to get things like this accomplished, especially when it comes to something as groundbreaking as that we're working on for the news and political media.
Another of the things that I see in your background is you were transformation specialist at Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is known for their advancements in technology. Every day they are doing something new to try to bring innovation to the entertainment industry. You were working on a lot of interesting stuff, but one of the things that I see was the payroll area.
What area was that?
The payroll, HR.
Yeah, I was in payroll and HR when I was at Warner, and I got to see, a lot of pretty unique things when I was there. Primarily, I couldn't even tell you what I was doing at Warner because it was just so different and so random. I was an analyst there as well for certain projects, but I primarily did help with the consolidation of systems for them. And as you know, Warner is a pretty massive company that's also owned by a pretty massive company, AT&T, which they used to have 198 companies under them. And I got to see quite under the hood when it comes to, seeing how media operates, seeing how internal systems operate one another. And it was a pretty extensive and great role to have, even though my time there was short-lived.
So now I want to move to a gentleman that, my God, if I could put all the companies that he has been working for over the years, it makes me it makes me feel shameful. I thought I had a vast experience in the IT industry, but Mr. Dimitri, my God, you have gone through probably every single IT firm that in the planet in your career. Um, how did someone evolve to have so many high level positions in so many companies that are Fortune 500 or Fortune 100? You are muted. We can hear you. Okay, we'll move to can, Dimitri. Log out and log in, Dimitri, because we cannot hear you. We can hear you.
Second. Can you hear?
There.
Okay,
Yes.
there we go.
Perfect.
Sorry, I guess there's a little bit of a delay when I unmuted myself. Well, anyway, yeah, thank you so much for that kind introduction. And yeah, indeed, I've been busy. I mean, I've had so many great opportunities to follow my passion and team up with very, very talented, very enthusiastic people along the way. Very much, including a present company included. Um, so the kind of the more recent passion for me was really around data science, applications of machine learning and AI in just about any aspect of deep tech or kind of high tier customer facing applications. Obviously, there are incredible opportunities here, not just for us to incorporate the vast capabilities of AI, but also uh, but also see how we can most efficiently interlink them with the voice of the people. And one of the phrases that I really like to use is that see how we can incorporate AI with the wisdom of the crowd to do things that people need to solve big problems, to resolve really big pain points, which of course we're obviously very committed to here at ETHA. This is kind of more of my recent innovation focus, but throughout my career, I've been just very fortunate to pursue my core passions, both from the technology perspective, as well as my personal development with my leadership and business development skills. So yeah, I really consider myself very lucky to have had these great opportunities and having had a lot of fun so far in my career. And I think it's still just the beginning.
It's interesting because uh, I feel that I might have known you before, but I because I see a lot of the companies you
I
are
know.
that you were actively in. One of the first companies that I dealt with in my IT career was Level 2 Communication. So uh, great organization and innovative.
Yeah, yeah. Level 3, you said?
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Since I left the company, they've been further integrated into Century. So, it's not uncommon industry to keep consolidating throughout the decade. But yeah, there was a tremendous amount of innovation at level 3. Uh, I, it was interesting to observe what's been happening. So my link into level 3 was that back in my pre-Cisco days, actually the startup that I entered Cisco with, called Serent, was bought by something ridiculous, something like $7 billion back in 1999. I was an optical networking specialist. Started out as a senior engineer, but a couple of years into Cisco, I decided to take the more of the business and business development and sales approach. I've of course been working and partnering with a number of optical networking companies who were building the next generation infrastructure for our internet connectivity throughout the world. And of course, later on, I guess about 10 years later, I I revisited some of these companies, and I realized that many of them have been integrated and adopted by Level 3 into their product suite. So it was sort of a homecoming, but at the same time, it was a great opportunity to see how far these optical networking applications have innovated, and how well they've iterated, and how they're delivering real value to the end users around the world. So yeah, it was a pretty exciting stint as well.
So we are going to move now to the application expert in this company, and his name is Aastik Saini. And Aastik is impressive to see you have worked all your career, except for an analyst role there somewhere on the line uh, Goldman Sachs, but we'll leave that one out. But yes, we have okay. So one of the things that it's interesting to see in your career is that everything was geared towards software. Everything was geared towards application development. Most software engineers focus themselves on the expertise in coding, not so much on the application side of things. And you have a vast experience in all areas.
Yes, like as I mentioned before, I started coding at an age of 14. So my grandfather actually bought me a computer when I was 5 years of age, and since then I've been coding. And I actually, in my college, I was attending two colleges, one college and a separate course from Harvard at the same time, and also managing a startup of my own, which was it was a small device you could hook up into your car, and it will analyze your car if your car is healthy, if it needs a service soon, if you'll face any failures in the future. It was just a small chip you can install, and it will give you the diagnostics of your car on your phone. And yeah, from there on out, I've been developing products that have made a difference. Like one of the craziest one that I think is a woman's safety wallet. It was a wallet with an integrated taser. So if someone is in a like someone wants to tase someone, like someone is in an emergency and you have to tase someone, you just take it out, tase it. And the unique factor was it had a location tracking device in it. So whenever the taser was used, your location tracking would turn on, and the location of the taser would be sent to all your emergency contacts, and they'll be able to track you. You'll get all those notifications, pings that okay, the taser has been used, they are in danger, and here's the location. So that's why I've been working in like, making sure security, safety, and everything is up to the mark in all regards. Even if it's a company, the society, the public, that's of the most high, that's of the highest concern.
Perfect. And now we'll move on to what will say the money guy.
Yeah.
So Matheo Velasquez, you mentioned you are from Colombia. Interesting to see your background. You have been in South Florida for a while now. But what what drives you to the technology sector? What is your alignment with technology?
So, I mean, not to be cliche, but it's to leave the world in a better place. So right now, there's a huge problem that we see with our families, with our relationships, work, you name it, and that's kind of just the information that's being shared. I knew that this is taking on a mind of its own. And when Nicole talked to me about it, I knew that with Aastik and those his technical know-how, this team had an opportunity to fight an uphill battle against giants, and that's kind of just the way that I've always approached life. I don't know if it's being an immigrant and seeing my mom do whatever she could to put food on the table, it was always fighting an uphill battle. Getting into a huge university. There's a thing in Colombia that people usually refer to us as magical realism, where it's you could do whatever it is that you want in the world. However, you still get grounded and kind of humbled. So after and during college, I decided to pursue one of my passions at the moment, which was healthcare, and went and lived and worked in 5 countries to help pay off college, in Uruguay, Argentina, Dominicana, and that kind of just opened up my eyes a little bit more to what's going on around the world, and just being connected with people and utilizing what I was privileged enough at the University of Florida to see firsthand. It's having access to supercomputers, to people having an open mind of being able to make an influence and change the world. Not everyone kind of is able to have that mindset when their struggle is a little bit different. So that's kind of the approach that I took while I was over there. After coming back, I did sales and business development, and kind of did it in the same way. I focused on small businesses, usually friends, whether it be a landscaping company, a recruiting company, and I just always was passionate about using tools to help streamline and scale companies that kind of are just underdogs within their industry. And that's, I when it comes to technology, I think there's definitely a place where it's a win-win, when there's good intentions, and that's kind of just where I'd like to put myself in those situations, and always, not fight an uphill battle, but compete and use teamwork to kind of make a difference and change.
So, good intentions. You mentioned the key word for this application. The key word for this application is the good intentions of giving the world a better sense of what's real and what's not. Nicole, to you, this why ETA? Why now? When the world is at its probably its worst moments in the media, where basically we don't know what's real and what's not anymore.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If if you saw what occurred in the last 5, 6 years, we have people drinking bleach, eating Tide Pods. Matheo a long time ago said that 2 things only call their the media and big pharma have 2 things in common. They both use the word users, right? So the media is extremely addictive, and I would say that it's something that is very psychologically problematic to our society. And I know that you mentioned that we've literally never seen something this bad, and the last time that we did it was World War II. So if you could cleanse the media, if you could cleanse how people are faring about law and policy making, we wouldn't have this issue. But unfortunately, sometimes it's not to do with the companies themselves nor our government. It has a lot to do with all of the integrations that must take place in this world for these things to work on, right? So, I would say the time is now. There couldn't be a better timing for something like this. And this is really out to set and flip a switch on the media that, once hasn't been accomplished before. And I think that, we're very, very primed for disruption, not only in politics, not only in government systems, not only in education, but all of them. We've gotten to a market in the world where, everything is incumbent now. And I heard a long time ago saying that Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, all of those top guys have literally said that in the future there will be no company that moves past 20 to 30 years maximum because of the level of innovation that we're driving behind the world as a whole.
So one of the things that it's very interesting about your application is that you look not just as what's written by the main media sources, but you look at what it's how we are being exposed to social media as well, which is one of the main drivers of uh, how do they say fake news. Um, how how is it that, and it goes to either everyone in the group, how are you guys innovating to realize what's fake and what's not?
Yeah, I'd love to speak to this one. This is actually one of my favorite features that I've been thinking about for over 4 years now. It's the AI that really traps the media in its own game. So I use this as a fair warning to kind of tell people this will all be used against you if you are a bad person. Try it, try the platform, and understand that this is something that is going to shed light as opposed to darkness all over us, right? So I would say like there's a lot to the startup itself, but Aastik, I would be curious to hear your take on this particular question since I'm having a little trouble explaining it.
Yeah, so the path to clearing out the fake news starts off with the wisdom of the crowd, the crowdsourcing part of our application. Like the truth, mostly like how many if you are sitting in a class, right, and someone says something like he just wrote in my notebook, and so like so if some kid complains, everyone knows about it, and even if he hadn't done it, everyone thinks that he did it, right? So it takes one person to start that whole network of information flow, which can lead to like the misinformation flowing in wrong directions. And what we do is we have started off with politics as our first area of expertise to detect all the misinformation in that area. We give people a way to hold politicians accountable so that we understand what people feel about different topics that are being pushed by the media or the politicians and what kind of information the users are getting. And once we form this balance between the information that people are getting and how they are processing it and where it's coming from, we can easily pinpoint like the disruption in the whole information channel. Any disruption in this channel, in this flow, would mean that there is misinformation, that news is fake, because it disrupts the flow of the ideal working environment. It might or might not be misinformation, but we can speculate where it's coming from, what it is, and how it impacts the whole, political landscape, media system, information system. You can call it anything. How it affects other things. So that is the whole premise for
Yeah,
our startup.
and the AI. I always like to use this example. There's a lot of journalists out there that are suffering from fake news and pranksters as well. This is a huge problem. But the other half of it is also the news information part that Austin was talking about. I would say, prankster bloggers are very, very common, and fake celebrity deaths are very, very common. I too have been sucked into that,
Yeah.
right? So, this AI will actually be able to pinpoint the first time it's ever been mentioned on the web and really say like, hey, this is how the media is spinning it out of control or completely falsifying it. Or, hey, maybe this came from a 4 a.m. prankster blogger. Are you sure you want to read this article? And those are kind of the things that we are working on in order to showcase and expose the media bias, but in addition to expose media stories and the honesty and truth of these networks as opposed to where we're headed right now.
Yeah, and at the same time, I wanted to add that this is a great opportunity for us to innovate. There are new technologies, there are new algorithms, there are novel approaches that we can try out. So as our user base is growing and we're serving more and more, po- you know, voters, constituents, as well as politicians, who of course are very interested in learning the grassroots public sentiment of their activities and their leadership. I think there will be a lot of very, very interesting opportunities for us to innovate and to iterate on what we've already started doing.
And to add on to that, I also think our team is an extremely curious bunch. We're a bunch of little kids always asking why things happen. So, when we in our personal or professional lives, a problem presents itself, we're the type of personalities that are curious to find out the why, to kind of reverse engineer it or look into it a little bit more. That isn't the case for the majority of the population. So again, it's something that we see as clear as night and day, that a lot of people just, whether they're completely exhausted of all the garbage, right, that's out right now, or just all the clutter with everything going on, that they would just rather vouch for the first thing they see without even looking into it, without even being curious about it. So that's kind of something that we want to help declutter, mainly just for everyone's mental sanity and forging a new future, because it takes curious people to try and solve complex problems that some people might not even realize are there. You don't know what you don't know.
So one of the things that it's being in the media, one of the things that has transposed, especially when you have so many social media outlets where misinformation is sent out through, uh, especially since January 6th. January 6th, I think, changed the evolution of media as a whole, uh, because the incident that happened at the Capitol really gave a forefront to all of those people that wanted to become journalists at some point in their lives, and that they think they are journalists, but they just follow a story and they
Yeah.
retransmit the misinformation. How does your application as a whole uh, dig into all those um saturation of news or posts across social media to to get to the truth?
Go for it, Aastik. Go for it.
So we have a system which allows us to which allows us to scrape all the different media houses, what articles they are putting out. We also do a sentiment analysis on it, so we understand if they are positively toned, negatively toned, are they left facing, right facing, if they are grieving articles, if they are happy articles, and all of the things like that. And when once we have that and we use that information with all what how public is processing it, right? That is one way of detecting misinformation, which I mentioned before. And the other thing is, since we have the capability to go through all the media channels, we also have the capability to doing things similar to Google, where we can go through all websites, go and do a similarity check on different articles. For example, if a CNN article has been published, how some other company takes the same article, changes the words, and uses the same article as the base of its story. So this would allow us to join all the dots of how and where the story comes from, and how where it is headed to, and how and what changes happen to the story as different sources cite it. So once we have that whole system in place and we can find the origination source of the story, we can easily detect misinformation when we compare that data to how people are processing it. And just to add to that, Nicole gave a very good example of celebrity deaths, where it just comes out from a blog. And so this system would also allow us to rank media houses based on how credible they are, how biased they are, and how much of their information is coming from other sources.
So now that we have heard, is there a possibility, ASIC, that you can show us a little bit of how your system works, the platform works?
Sure, definitely. As of now, as we mentioned, we have started off with tackling the issue of political polarization, right? So, which allows us to Just a second, I'll have it up on my screen. Give me a moment. Yep, it's up. I actually don't know how to share screen on this one.
So at the bottom of your
Yeah, got it.
there.
So yeah, as of now, we have a fully gamified experience, which allows user to come on the platform and swipe left or right, and they can even check out the statements and comment on it and interact with other users, reply to them. And as they do this, they get an increase in the user Q score. And this user Q score is a measure of how politically aware you are, how politically active you are actually. So once people come in and they disagree or agree with the statements made by politicians, the score goes up. And as they're interacting with the statements, as they're commenting on these statements, based on the comments, like if they're constructive in nature or non-constructive in nature, the user queue gets affected. So if I go on this in the comment sections and say something like "I hate this," so definitely my user queue score is going to go down. Now, what it helps us with is people with a high user queue score means they are well behaved on the platform. They can put their point through without being, you know, rude to others or using some colorful words, right? And as they keep doing this, they add to something called as the leader queue score for that politician, which is mentioned here. So this leader Q score is the public approval rating, and yeah, as people keep interacting with the application, the politicians keep ranking on the leaderboard depending on how much the public supports them. So this is the whole gamified experience, and we have another feature coming in soon, which is which will actually. Hmm. We have another feature coming soon, so we'll have all these beautiful graphs on the platform soon, which shows how over a time people's opinions change based on what the news media articles are pushing. So I can agree with one politician today, and 2 months later I'll be like, "Oh, what he said was wrong." And how those thought processes of people also change. You can see them on the platform. Also, the key feature here is once a politician makes a statement, whatever he or she has said, our AI, our system has the ability to go through all the media sources that have mentioned that politician saying that word and show what different narratives they are pushing. And when you click on it, we'll be providing you with data like if the source that you're going to check is it left biased or right biased or is it positive or negative, so that people themselves are well informed before they make a decision or an opinion regarding any politician or policy. So that's the core product that we have. This feature is coming soon and will be out by the end of this month. So yeah, that's
And another point I'd really like to hit on, Aastik, can you possibly pull up Neo4j as well? To extend to what this will look like in the future, we wanted to show a really cool graph platform that most media houses actually do use internally, but it's not commonly used or exposed to the public, which is where a lot of this misinformation could be coming from, right? Both Fox and CNN are actually heralded as, they used to be prestigious, but not so much anymore. And a lot of that is to do to the lack of technology internally to their companies. But what we're going to do is open source and expose everything that a normal news media house generally sees in terms of research and make it public, right? So that blue dot in there is actually the first time that that statement, let's say a politician says, "I love you," right? And with an "I love you," that you could see it as many times as possible that this person has actually mentioned it through video verification, but also all of that. Those red dots on the very outside, that's misinformation. So people can be like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be looking at these because they come from these weird sources without verified users. And as the closer that you get to these dots, the more actually factual, corrected these articles and everything else is. And what's really fun is that all of these dots are clickable, so you could actually click into some of them and see the whole story there, point by point, which you could also gain points as a user to actually read and understand things, whether it's through audio, video, or text, and then actually be able to see what people are saying in the news media. And this, if we implement it correctly, we will change the world in the next 3 years. It's a very, very short amount of time, but this is the formula for that.
So one of the things that I'm seeing, I mean, you guys have the pulse of what people are saying, not just from the media side, but from the public. Uh,
Mhm.
with the upcoming elections for Congress in November, this is a very useful tool
Mhm.
because people can really diagnose how they should vote based on reality, not on what's being said out there. They
Exactly.
can actually
Exactly.
they can actually go to see their politicians in real time, how they are doing and what they are saying from a real source.
Exactly. So we're really introducing a considerable amount of transparency into what so far has been a fairly opaque process. Uh, at the same time, we are creating a much more educated voter. And that's something that's been really lagging consistently. Where, as you could tell from the demo of the product that Aastik just did so well, uh, we're not really creating our own content, nor are we spinning a certain narrative. The only thing we're doing is we're presenting the articles from publications that represent uh, multiple, diverse areas of the political spectrum, and we are just exposing the bias that we identify inherent to that particular article. That's it. And from that point on, we invite our members, our community members, to read these publications, read these articles, and now that they're armed with the detection of a possible bias, they can make their own decisions. But we're not trying to create our own content, which, of course, if we did, which inevitably lead to perhaps even a subconscious infusion of bias and our own narratives. We absolutely want to avoid that. We know that there have been attempts at doing that in the past to present unvarnished, balanced, neutral news, and they all failed because of that virtual theoretical impossibility of having a human or even a human programmed robot presenting content without any inherent bias on the inside. So that's our
And
big goal. We want
yeah,
to educate. We're educating the voter.
and might I add, it's something that to some people isn't sexy, and found a way to make it fun and beautiful. That user interface is amazing, and it's very not intimidating. Where to some people, politics is intimidating. These key figures are intimidating, and usually when they're presented, it's there's a lot of work done behind the scenes to make you feel a certain way or go a certain way. That's not the case with the politicians and the information that's on the platform. It's a way to, again, make it fun to find out why it is that things are said that the way that there are. And again, I this will have a huge snowball effect, not just in politics, but the way that us as humans see information within social media.
Yeah.
So one of the things that it's interesting to see, because looking at looking at the couple of examples that you guys gave, you can see where the tendencies are when people say I agree or disagree. or how they are commenting on those opinions of the politicians. And I imagine that this can be applied not just in the US, it can be applied anywhere in the world, uh, language considered. I mean, but it can really be applied to anything. And this is a way to change the mentality of some of the people that think that certain tendencies are better than others because of what their own the people that they are being surrounded by say about the issue.
Yeah, and
Yep.
and Eduardo, to point something out on that, we kind of are focusing our attention in maybe the most intimidating sector, and being as agile and moving as quick as possible. Um, already knowing that the second it gets traction, it's gonna be met with a lot of I guess people that don't want the transparency to kind of get and go viral. So it's something that if had we chosen to focus or incorporate, whether on sports or other countries, it might have gotten a, a, a lot of just negative efforts against our for the moment extremely agile team.
So the uses of this application, and I know that you guys are focusing netly on right now on the political scene, and particularly to the North American arena. But the applications are of this application are don't have a limit because it's public opinion, basically what you are creating. So you know, and I'm thinking just from the, let's say, not from the political side, but just from the advertising side, how corporations could use this application to see how their customers are viewing them when they put out a statement. You know,
I would like to take it as our invention. We wanted to start at a source, right? And
yeah.
politics is the easiest one to do so because of all of our, there's so many verticals and so many ways that this thing can go. But to be honest, if you didn't start with the source, which is media and politics, it wouldn't be successful because there's over 79 million people on Facebook today from the US alone that are actively involved in political conversations, right? That's a huge number. But the thing is, half of those people don't even have a social media, and the other half, are those closet, type voters where they're just not sure, right? And we're trying to capture that in our platform. And here's another really cool benefit is that we will not be selling user data, personal user data. What we'll be selling for our data will actually be how users talk about politicians, and they will be put in a dashboard as opposed to us being the consumer, right? This is how we're also transforming the incumbent market. But I'd love to have Aastik have a technical spin on this question as
Yeah.
well.
So, from an AI perspective, when we were building an AI, we restrict it to one domain and perfect that domain first, and then we have something called as transfer learning, where we can use all the knowledge, all the good practices we got from sticking to one area of expertise to another, which becomes transition to all those segments easier for us. And that is one plus point we have with sticking to one segment, that is politics and news right now.
So
But I would take it again like Amazon. He started with books. Jeff
Yeah.
Bezos started with books. You got to start somewhere, but we really want to perfect it around the political arena before we reapply it to every industry, anything out there, whether it's from a journalistic perspective and helping media houses to helping doctors synthesize and crush their paperwork, 70% of them have quite a bit of paperwork to go through instead of seeing patients. All of this can be automated, and this is what we've created, is an automation government 2.0 platform.
Yeah.
So I truly want to thank you, because it has been very, very educational to learn more about how automation of issues that are vital to any type of to any citizen, really, right across the US, whether it's North America, the world, can actually see this as a tool to get more acquainted with what's real and what's not real in the world of media. Uh, and I would like to thank you very much. We will follow you in Collision this week, and we will do a follow-up interview with you from Collision Live, so that we can get a better perspective of how Collision has been for you, and if your goals have been met. Has Collision met your goals? Uh, we would like to thank you, and to everybody that is listening, watching this show today. Remember that this show can also be heard across the Spanglish World Network's radio network and its social media platforms. As well, remember that the World Tech Report, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, but especially live it, because technology is the World Tech Report, and the World Tech Report is technology. Until next week, we wish you and bid you a farewell, and we will be live from Collision from June 20th to the 23rd with ETA and other great innovators in the world of technology. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us, Eduardo.